We're having to make up for the lost years in which he was housing minister 10 years ago.
Welcome back to Moose on the Loose. My name's David. Today we've got more nonsense from the Liberals. We've got Mark Miller being an absolute disaster. We've got Justin Trudeau being a disaster. We got a new scandal regarding the residential schools. We've got people fleeing from Canada to Nicaragua, among some other things. So let's jump into this. So first off, there's a back and forth between Pierre and Justin Trudeau in the House.
Because of the incompetence of this Prime Minister and Liberal City Hall in Toronto, rent there has more than doubled over the last 9 years. What's worse is that the Prime Minister's so-called Housing Accelerator Fund has given $500 million to Toronto, and only months later, the politicians in that city hiked up home building taxes by 20%. Wow. Now 30% of all home building costs is government taxes alone. Why does the Prime Minister keep sending our money to build bureaucracies that block homes?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, we see the Conservative leader's hypocrisy on full display. Let's talk about their housing proposal, which the Conservative leader has been delaying debate on for months because he knows it's not ambitious enough. His proposal won't build homes fast enough, doesn't reach enough cities, and creates unnecessary bureaucracy. The Conservative leader would also rip up the 179 housing accelerator agreements and put the GST back on apartment construction. His clear lack of ambition on housing is partly how we ended up here in the first place.
Hear, hear.
That's right.
Did he just blame Pierre Poilievre for the housing crisis that he and Sean Fraser and Mark Miller caused? What kind of garbage is that? Dude, Trudeau, you guys are bringing in way too many people. 1.2 million. There's stories coming out now. They're bringing in 5,000 people from Gaza. Don't worry, we'll get into it. They're bringing in more and more voters because their numbers are so bad. Like in Trudeau Liberal fashion, they're going to bring in the worst of the worst. So our crime rates are going to keep going up until we get rid of this fool.
When I was housing minister, we built 200,000 homes in 1 year. The rent was only $900 and mortgage payments were half of what they are today. Fast forward to present, the Prime Minister wants to has given $500 million to Toronto City Hall to jack up new taxes on home building. No wonder that when the president of the Residential Construction Council of Ontario, Richard Lyle, was asked whether the Prime Minister would keep his promise for 3.9 million new homes by the end of the decade, he said, and I quote, "No chance." Mr. Speaker, why doesn't he stop funding bureaucracy so that we can get out of the way and build homes?
To hit that number of 3.9 million homes being built by 2030, they have to build 1,908 houses per day for the next 2,044 days to hit that. That's not happening. Currently, the builders of Canada build 630 houses a day. So yeah, we're going to triple that and more? I don't think so.
It is shameful, again, that the Conservative leader continues to exploit the very real anxieties of Canadians. When the Conservative leader was housing minister, let's talk about his record. He withdrew the government from cooperative housing. He supported the construction of 0 new apartments, and he gutted affordable housing initiatives and created new bureaucracies.
My common sense plan to build the homes would reward municipalities that speed up permits and punish the politicians that get in the way. His approach has not only doubled housing costs, but he's built up Toronto City Hall with monstrous financial transfers so that they can block construction. Mr. Speaker, there have been 50 new tent encampments added in the city of Toronto in 6 weeks. Wow. There are 250 tent cities in Toronto alone. Is that his plan, to block homes and put up tents?
50 in 6 weeks? At one point, does this not become some sort of national crime against citizens? At what point do we not ask for help from another government, like the Americans, to come in and invade the government here and get us the help we need? Like, it's outrageous.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the so-called plan that the Conservative leader has put forward on housing does absolutely nothing to address homelessness or encampments. What we're actually investing in is hundreds of millions of dollars to help municipalities across the country build more housing rapidly, create the wraparound supports necessary to support people facing homelessness, and continue to be there on the most ambitious and comprehensive housing plan that this country has ever seen. This is part of what we're having to make up for the lost years in which he was housing minister 10 years ago, not creating housing for Canadians, not investing in our future.
Wow, this loser just blamed Poilievre for when he ran out of excuses blaming Harper, so now let's just blame Poilievre from 9 years ago. What a loser. Trudeau is just the biggest piece of human crap in this country. Just a vile, disgusting beast. He can't take accountability for anything. This guy's a pathetic, pompous loser who grew up with a silver spoon. He schmucked his way into Parliament, riding his daddy's coattails, and he running us into the ground. Karma's gonna be bad to you, Trudeau. The worst part about that is he did that at the end of the segment. They have it queued up here with Fergus, so back, forth. Trudeau knew he was gonna get the last word there. That's why he went all nasty there, because Poilievre can't come back. He's just such a spineless, toothless waste of space in the House of Commons. Speaking of pompous loser, we've got Sean Fraser. I made a video on my second channel where it was a House of Commons session yesterday. He just kept on going off about Poilievre and saying he writes up his plans on napkins and just complete garbage. So if you want to check that out, I'll link up that video at the end. But Sean Fraser is getting so arrogant about his policies and solving the problems like he's some sort of god. You really have to wonder what's going on through these people's heads.
Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, Canada's housing crisis is only getting worse. The Liberals claim in Budget 2024 that they're going to build 3.87 million homes by 2031. And that would mean a new home completed every 57 seconds every day.
So she had the math there based on seconds I had per day, 1,908 homes per day, or 57 seconds per home. Yeah, right.
At the Housing Committee, I asked Richard Lyle, a home building expert, if this was realistic, and he said, not a chance. The Prime Minister is not worth the cost of housing. Will this Prime Minister stop funding photo ops and start building the homes that Canadians desperately need?
Mr. Speaker, with the recent housing plan, we've set out to build the number of homes that's actually required to solve the housing crisis. With respect, Mr. Speaker, it's disappointing in the extreme that the Conservatives won't even set a goal that will solve the problem. What's
disappointing is you guys won't cut down the immigration, which you know is causing the problem. You just need to get out of the Parliament, man.
Interesting, Mr. Speaker, is the member who posed the question actually had her community benefit with a $31.5 million investment to build more homes in Kelowna. She's advocating that money is taken away from her.
We don't need your stupid accelerators if housing is affordable for the businesses to build. That's the idea, is the construction companies don't need the bailout money if building materials are affordable, if land is affordable. You guys have decimated our country. Seriously, you traitors, you're a bunch of traitors.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it was announced just this morning that, in fact, housing starts are down in my community and also across the country. Wow. And in 2015, people could actually afford a home. 9 years of this NDP Liberal government has only brought us a housing crisis. And the head of the Residential Construction Council of Ontario said that construction is down there. And we are seeing this across the entire country. He said high financing costs and development charges means home builders are sitting at home instead of building homes. So since this Prime Minister has no meaningful plan, will the Liberals vote for our housing bill put forward by the Conservative opposition leader to build the homes, not bureaucracy?
Mr. Speaker, if she argues that housing starts in her community are down, why is her solution to cut funding for housing in her community? Exactly. It's endemic to the Conservative approach. When you actually look at the plan that they put forward, it includes a tax hike.
Forget about the Conservatives' plan, man. Look at your own plan, you loser. Why are housing starts down? That's where you need to look at, not stop blaming. This guy, he's all lawyer talk. And guess what? This guy's job was before in being in politics here, he's a lawyer. And he was a lawyer in Alberta. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, the main province that the Liberals demonize is one that he was employed at, reaping the benefits of lower taxes and the freedoms that come from Alberta.
The cuts are so extreme, even Conservative premiers are crying out, threatening to call snap elections in order to avoid the prospect of Conservative cuts. Cuts will not build homes.
Hear, hear!
Oh, yeah. Oh. cuts won't build homes. And what is bringing in 1.2 million immigrants and foreign workers every year? Does that build homes, or does that just decimate our economy, our housing situation, our medical system? These guys, something's going to break here this year. It's just going to happen. You don't have to look far to see those videos on TikTok where they compare Costco meat prices versus Canada prices, where they're buying a huge pack of ribeye steaks or chicken breasts for like $7 or $8, $10, $12, and here it's like $150. It's no different for the price of building materials. I live in a logging town and lumber is very expensive here. How does that make sense? Trees get cut down and shipped straight over to Japan and China. Like our entire country is just completely screwed. Next up, we got a clip here with Jonathan Wilkinson. He's asked about Sergeant at Arms has basically said there's been more harassment towards the MPs, the Liberal MPs. I wonder why.
Sergeant at Arms says harassment against MPs way up. What, are you experiencing that in North Vancouver? Is there anything you could think could be done to change things?
I mean, I know many of my colleagues have been experiencing harassment, and some of them even to their homes. So certainly it has been on the rise. I mean, I've been fortunate in North Vancouver. I haven't seen a lot of that. But certainly I do think that we all want to attract good people into politics, irrespective of partisan strife. I think we need to think about how we dial down the rhetoric and we try to actually find ways in which to ensure that MPs feel safe.
Maybe you guys should stop destroying Canadians' lives. How about you start with that, huh? But seriously, though, the more you guys push against Canadians, the more you push people into tents, destroy lives, you're going to get more and more of it. So don't get comfortable. It's going to get worse. This clip here, posted by Rebel News, says illegal immigrants in Canada could number 500,000. He adds, it's crucial to give these people paths to permanent residency in the name of equality and fairness.
I wonder if I could ask if any of you have an estimate of how many people are undocumented in Canada and how many you anticipate might want to apply if a program is opened.
One of the major concerns is that there is no good estimates of how many undocumented people there are. The range estimate is from 20,000 to 500,000. We believe that for this reason, a program should be broad and inclusive to allow people to come out from the shadows and enter the family of rights by applying for permanent residency. Instead of trying to determine caps at this point, it is crucial that we understand that this is about equality and fairness. And anyone, if there's some people who are excluded, then that's not equality. That's just discrimination.
But there are people being excluded. It's Canadians. Our money is being used to pay for everything but for anything for us. We're the ones being discriminated against here. No more people coming in. None. It should be zero. Zero immigration for the next 10 years until our country gets fixed. Then we go back to what we used to do. We bring in high quality people with good skills who bring a lot to our country, not the rats of society that are brought over from God knows where. We get all these thieves and crime lords, car theft, and Justin Trudeau and the Liberals that are succeeding with Klaus Schwab's plan here to tank this country. There's no such thing as migrant rights. You should not get any rights for breaking the law of the country beyond humane treatment while you're being deported. Go back and apply the legal way, plain and simple. Yes, there's some logic and reason in these comments. Not fairness to taxpayers. Kick them out. That would be fair to Canadians. Another clip from the same press conference basically demanding that Justin Trudeau give illegal immigrants the Canadian permanent resident status.
I'm speaking to you from the unceded and never surrendered territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabeg peoples, and my pronouns are she, her, elle. So I'm here today to show union solidarity with undocumented workers and their families. Women, 2S LGBTQI, plus migrants, all who have been living in fear of being detected and being deported. Undocumented people live here and build our communities and our economy. But without status, they are vulnerable to abuse and exploitation. And growing racism and xenophobia are making them even more vulnerable. Employers can violate the rights of undocumented workers, stealing wages, forcing them into unsafe working conditions, stopping workers from asserting their rights under the threat of deportation. This abuse results in an overall worsening of wages and working conditions for migrants and citizens alike. Regularization will allow workers to leave bad jobs and punish bad actors. It's leveling the playing field of improving working conditions for everyone. That is why in 2019, we as a CLC and our affiliated unions launched a small pilot to give permanent residency to undocumented workers in the Greater Toronto Area. A broad regularization program means that people can now contribute to the fullest potential to Canada's economic and social future. We, the Canadian Labour Congress, call on the government to do what is right. Bring in regularization now. Thank you.
No, we don't need more people. How about this? If people want a fast track path to residency, whether it's the temporary foreign workers or the foreign students or the migrants, either comes in one of two ways. One, they go join the military and they have to serve for like 10 years or something, or they go into construction and they have to work in construction. And if they miss a single day of work, they're out. Like, I think that's the only logical solution that helps us and it helps them. It has to be both. It can't just be take our money and we get nothing, because that's what's happening in this country over and over and over. Food's going up, insurance going up, rent's going up, property taxes going up, yet we get nothing more. It's not like places got nicer to rent. People's property taxes are not paying for nicer roads or new technology or solar roads that charge your cars while you drive over them. We're not getting crazy rare imported fruits from Borneo. It's the same thing, but we just get so much less. Speaking of so much less, we've got Mark Miller. So he had a few choice words to say about Gaza and that situation, and it's stirring up a lot of comments and a lot of controversy.
I don't want the vote of someone that thinks that legitimate criticism of the Netanyahu government that I share equates to picking on Jews in this country and targeting them. If those people have that type of thinking, I don't want their vote. We are all failing Gazans at this point, and I think that is something that we need to realize. It's probably the largest hostage taking right now in the world. And it is something that Canada can play a small role in it. We can't be everything to everyone, but if Canada can play a role in this, in getting people out and safe, we're willing to play it. But right now, we haven't had the success that we wanted to. And that means that people are in and around Rafah are very exposed to death, starvation, to bombardment, and it won't prevent us from pushing, but we're continuing.
So I've only got one thing to say about this, because this is a touchy thing to even talk about on here, but he said it's the largest group. If we look at this here, how many people are trapped? 2.3 million in that place. If we look at this, Chinese Uyghurs, 12 million. Now what's higher, 12 million or 2.3? I'm not saying either, like, they're both terrible, but I mean, Canada can't be the savior of all people on earth. We just can't. We don't have the money for it. Maybe a country like America could really do something because they have all the military might plus all the money. But let's just look at the straight numbers. This is 5 times more people. These people are in camps too. Look, there's camps right there. They're building new camps. There's videos from it. It's horrible. The Chinese government has basically locked these people up because they have different beliefs. They're up in the north. So Mark Miller needs to get his facts straight before he starts talking on camera, because this is just, it's not true. 2.3 million is a large number, but it's not 12, man. At this point, the government should be protecting and saving Canadians, because Canadians are suffering. And, you know, we pay the taxes for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. We need to come first. Then we can try to help other countries. But there's a bunch of other countries. There's all sorts of countries in the Middle East. Why aren't we focusing on people in Syria or wherever? Pick a country. Somalia. And along with the same theme, we've got this guy here spotted at McGill University in Montreal, Canada. What's going on in Canada? So I'm going to blur this out, but basically this is Netanyahu doing a little, he's playing a game of hangman here. Get this crap out of here. It should be illegal to wave giant flags that are not Canadian flags in this country. Maxime Bernier had something to say here. There are 22 Arab countries. Why won't we take any of them in? Exactly. Why don't Palestinians stay in their own corner of the world in societies with the same region and the same culture? Why is Canada obliged to welcome all the wretched on the earth? Spicy, man. This is in reply to this article here. Basically, Canada announces 5-fold increase in visa for Palestinians in Gaza. Immigration Minister Mark Miller says 5,000 visas will be offered to Palestinians seeking to join family in Canada. They're basically bringing in more voters because we all hate the Liberals. So they're like, oh, we better just keep bringing in people until we have enough voters. What they'll be bringing in is a civil war if they don't cut this crap out soon. Next up, we've got the total inventory of Toronto Metro residential listings on MLS. Basically, how many listings do we have going on the market? Yeah, it's skyrocketing. It is, you can see it's hit a new high from January 2022. The new capital gains tax goes in, I believe, June 25th. So it's just going to be going up until it hits then. And who knows what happens after that? Will drop off a cliff or what? I don't know. We've got this post here. It says there's presently 6,100, 2 million plus homes for sale in Ontario. Half of these are $3 million or over, and half of those are over $4 million. It takes a $500K salary to finance a $2 million mortgage in 2024. That's $12K a month. That's wild. Who can buy these? Like, we don't have enough CEOs of Bell to buy these houses. Next up, we got this post from Pierre. It says, people used to flee Nicaragua to come to Canada. After 9 years of Trudeau, Canadians flee to go there. Wow.
Raquel, you'll never believe what she's done. Raquel, you and your family made a decision after you had your newborn.
Your daughter, yeah, she's 3 now.
She's 3 now?
Yeah.
And what was the decision you made?
We were trying to find a larger house that was affordable, and it was not in Canada, and so we decided to move to Nicaragua.
You moved to Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Where were you living in Canada before?
Well, we lived here for 5 months,
Cape
both our
Breton.
fishing in Cape Breton, and then 7 months was in my hometown in
This is nuts. So her family, a family from Cape Breton, a fishing family, can't afford to live here and has to move to Nicaragua. Did you have any connection to Nicaragua? You just did your research and said, this is a place where we can afford
Packed our backpacks and flew down
Like-
blindly, and
It used to be that countries
but we
like
can afford a house down there.
It used to be that people would flee from countries like Nicaragua to come to Canada, but now people are actually fleeing from Canada to go to Nicaragua because they can't afford 9 years of Trudeau. That's how badly this guy has ruined our country, to the point where people have to leave for Nicaragua or other places around the world where they can afford to live. This is insane. You agree with that?
I do, yeah. Actually, in 2022, when we moved, 8,000 other Canadians had moved to Nicaragua as well.
8,000 for the same reasons? Like when you meet,
it's all
them?
like-minded people down there that are looking for a lower cost of living,
Unbelievable.
better quality of life.
Tax the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime.
Give us hope.
We're gonna bring our people home. Our people, our money, our jobs, our businesses. We're gonna bring them all home to the country we know and love. What do you think of that, Rick? Absolutely. Let's bring it home.
While we're at it, can we get Justin Trudeau out of our home? Can we send him somewhere else? North Korea? I hear it's really nice there. Next up, we got a post here regarding the residential schools and some craziness going on. I've seen multiple different posts. This one from Marty up north. Over the top BS. They can't find any bodies, and now they're making up an incinerator story. The first industrial incinerators didn't appear in the UK until around 1875. Does anyone seriously think that a residential school in the middle of Timbuk nowhere in Western Canada in the 1930s would have had an incinerator? Never mind the fact that schools were mostly run by Christians who were still somewhat against the idea of cremation. Hey, Chief, you're grasping at straws.
Could you talk about the prevalence of these burial sites and how many do you think we expect to find in BC?
The potential, I'm not sure. But at the same time, some of these residential schools or these institutions also had incinerators. So there could be potential not finding any remains of children that have gone missing. So this is another thing that, some of the caretakers and some of the First Nations in this province are looking for is accurate files, accurate, really, I think, statistics in regards to many of the children that did go to residential schools and also to try to figure out where did these children end up.
If you're going to say that, then you got to come forward and say, like, okay, this school over here has one. You can find it by opening this old vault or whatever. Like, you can't just throw out crap like that and not have it backed up by actual fact. Nope, we're being hoaxed. At this point, I'm comfortable with rejecting every claim that's not accompanied by solid, irrefutable proof. Yeah, basically what I just said. Lots of places burnt their garbage. Regardless, isn't cremation a common practice? Especially in winters, it sounds like they're grasping pretty hard, trying to keep that every child matters thing going. As an Indian that wrote a book on residential schools, no. Checkmate. Jumping over to my group, it's been a bit of a spicy episode here with all the immigration stuff. I know it gets my blood pressure up, and I'm sure it does for all of you. So let's look at some memes here. When you make the rules, you can't break the rules. Yeah. So someone just posted something here, who can afford this. It's 20 minutes outside of Kamloops, 4,900 plus utilities a month. Yeah, no thanks for that. I tried to follow the science, but I couldn't find it. I followed the money. That's where I found the science. This needs to end. Yeah. For those who love fishing, largemouth bass. Largemouth bass. Oh, this is gross. I was going to say the Trudeau is Superman, but somebody did some Photoshop work there. I see Pierre's been working out. That's originally that photo that Pleb had some guy Photoshopped to make him a little bit more muscular to try stir up stuff, and it worked. The left went all nutty, and now this has just gone too far. Alexa, we're investing $2.4 billion in AI and tech. Any suggestions? Step down. Yeah. At some point, we need to quit asking who needs to pay more taxes and focus on where the hell all of our money is going. I'm not completely useless. I can always be used as a bad example. Yeah. If you belong in this bathroom and you follow my daughter or my wife into this bathroom, you're going to need this bathroom. I finished 3 books over the weekend. Believe it or not, that's a lot of coloring. That is good. That's a good one. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about all of that. You've got the residential schools. We've got immigration, bringing in people from Gaza. We bring in, 500,000 people, migrants. Like, oh, here's some citizenship. You haven't done anything for our country. I get those people need support, but it's like you got to apply the right way. You need to be vetted, and then you come in here. If we look at a country like Switzerland, they don't let hardly anyone in there, and they don't have hardly any problems with crime, with corruption, with, and they were the ones who have that government that has like 7 prime ministers, and they all vote in this round table, like, like the Knights of the Round or something. It's all equal power. So you don't have one fool like Justin Trudeau here that can just dictate what's going on. Switzerland doesn't allow people to become a Swiss citizen very easily. It's nearly impossible to do that. Hopefully when Poilievre gets into power, he can clean this crap up. So thanks for watching the end of the video. Be sure to subscribe. We'll keep fighting for freedom. I'll see you guys in the next one.